Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds a telephonic conversation with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. He reiterates that dialogue and diplomacy are the way forward to resolve the Ukraine-Russia conflict. UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi visits the Kursk nuclear power plant in Russia to assess the situation there. Moscow claims Kiev's forces had attacked the site. And Facebook owner Mark Zuckerberg says the US government put pressure on him to remove COVID-19 content, admits he was wrong to suppress news on Biden's son. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a discussion with Russia's President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday. They discussed the Ukraine-Russia conflict and bilateral relations. In a social media post on X, Modi said, and I quote, "Spoke with President Putin today, discussed measures to further strengthen special and privileged strategic partnership, exchanged perspectives on the Russia-Ukraine conflict and my insights from the recent visit to Ukraine, reiterated India's firm commitment to support an early, abiding and peaceful resolution of the conflict," unquote. Earlier on Monday, Prime Minister Modi spoke with US President Joe Biden on various global issues, including the situation in Ukraine. Modi had reiterated India's full support for early return of peace and stability. And joining me is my colleague Akshay Dongre from New Delhi. Akshay, tell us more about the Modi-Putin conversation.
Well, it's quite an interesting turn of events, Ramesh. In fact, this is perhaps unseen ever in the world. One day the US president is dialing the prime minister of a country. On the next day, the president of the Russian Federation is dialing the same leader. And this is something what we saw as far as visits are concerned of the prime minister too, that he visited both the warring factions, was welcomed by both the warring factions of a conflict in same kind of with same kind of hospitality that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has seen in Kiev and in Moscow as well. So from what we are seeing here is not just rhetoric, or it's not just propaganda, but in fact India emerging as one of the most important players as far as the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict is concerned. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin. He has spoken to the Ukrainian president. He has also spoken to the US president as far as all of these issues are concerned, and as far as the common entity in all of these conversations, all of these warring factions, is the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, as far as this conversation goes, Prime Minister not only spoke about his earlier visit to the Russian Federation, where he had met with Vladimir Putin, but he also shared his insights from his visit to Ukraine. He also talked about the path of diplomacy, the path of dialogue, the path of peace, urging all of the factions, all of the warring sides to resort to dialogue and diplomacy as the only alternative. In fact, Prime Minister, when he was in Ukraine, he had also reiterated that India has not been neutral in any conflict. India has been on the side of peace and has and will always be on the side of peace. So in a way, India and especially Prime Minister Narendra Modi's role here being highlighted as far as this ongoing complex conflict is concerned, where he can actually turn up as a peacemaker in this entire bloody war.
All right, we'll leave it there. Akshay, thank you. Akshay Dongre reporting there from New Delhi. The chief of the United Nations atomic watchdog, Rafael Grossi, visits Russia's Kursk nuclear power plant on Tuesday amid allegations from Moscow of repeated Ukrainian attacks on the facility. situated about 40 kilometers from the volatile front lines, where Ukraine's forces have made incursions into Russian territory. The plant's safety is a pressing concern. Grossi's visit aims to assess the risks and ensure the plant's security, as the ongoing conflict has consistently threatened nuclear facilities, putting them in danger. At least 4 people were killed after Russia launched a barrage of missile and drone attacks across some regions of Ukraine, and this a day after Moscow's biggest air attack on its neighbor. Kyiv's air defenses were activated multiple times, successfully intercepting around 15 drones and several missiles. Intense clashes are underway in Russia's Belgorod region as Ukrainian forces launched a bid to breach the border. The situation remains fluid, with both sides engaged in heavy combat. Now, this follows Monday's attack, where more than 200 Russian missiles and drones were launched at Ukraine, killing as many as 7 people and damaging Ukraine's energy infrastructure. The attack received widespread international condemnation. NATO issued a strong denunciation against what it called Russia's continued aggression against Ukraine, following an incident where a drone possibly entered the Polish airspace during a Russian attack on Ukraine on Monday. According to NATO spokesperson Farah Zakhlala, remnants of Russian drones and missiles have been discovered on NATO territory multiple times, emphasizing that such actions are reckless and pose a significant risk to regional security. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky decided to further strengthen the direction of the eastern strategic hub of Pokrovsk that has seen an intensified Russian military push recently. He said on Monday that he was briefed by his army chief on the situation in the area.
Today, I began the day with a separate, lengthy conversation with the Commander-in-Chief Syrsky. We discussed in detail the repulsion of the missile strike, our response to Russia, which we are preparing, the use of F-16s and the operations in the Kursk region. We continue our actions in designated areas exactly as Ukraine needs. Over the day, we have gained more control, and there has been another replenishment of the exchange fund.
And Dasha Chernysheva joins us from Moscow. Dasha, what more can you tell us about the ongoing visit by the UN nuclear watchdog chief?
Well, indeed, this is a very important visit for the very security of the area, because Rafael Grossi, the head of the IAEA, before the visit has said that it is the circumstances that have forced him to lead his team, and he wants against creating the conditions where the safety of any nuclear facility could be endangered. So as a result of this visit, he has said that there was indeed a threat of a nuclear incident at the site in Kursk. He also has said that the situation at the Kursk nuclear power plant was close to normal. And Grossi has said that he was shown the consequences of what Russian authorities say was the Ukrainian attack against the Kursk nuclear power plant. Moscow has been repeatedly saying that Ukraine was trying to attack the Kursk nuclear power plant with drones, and Russia called those actions as nuclear terrorism.
Also, Dasha, what's the latest news you are picking up from the front lines?
Well, we understand that there have been continuous attacks by the Ukrainian military in Russia's Belgorod and Russia's Kursk region, where the Russian MOD is conducting their operations to squeeze the Ukrainian troops out from those territories. But in the meantime, we are hearing about the Russian attacks against the military infrastructure of Ukraine. The massive strike, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, has been carried out against the Ukrainian military airfields. And that is, according to Moscow part of the ongoing effort to demilitarize and to denazify Ukraine, which are the goals of so-called Russian special military operation in Ukraine. In the meantime, Russia has been claiming more advances, improvement of the positions on the front lines in Donbass, particularly in the Donetsk direction. And certainly Russia is warning the Western countries against escalating the tensions even further. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that the West is running into the path of escalation while it is reacting to the Ukrainian incursion of Russia's Kursk region, in which Moscow says the US has undoubtedly been involved.
Dasha, thank you. Appreciate it. Dasha Chernisho over there in Moscow. And in news from the Indo-Pacific, Japan has termed the violation of its airspace by a Chinese military aircraft as quote-unquote utterly unacceptable. The reaction comes a day after Japan scrambled jets and summoned a Chinese embassy official in Tokyo in protest. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Hayashi Yoshimasa said the airspace breach was not only a serious violation of Japan's sovereignty, but also threatened the country's security. The government continues to monitor increasing Chinese military activity near Japan and will be fully prepared for any airspace violation.
This is the first time we have confirmed and publicly announced a breach of our airspace by a Chinese military aircraft since we began taking measures against acts violating our airspace. Such airspace breach by Chinese military aircraft is not only a serious violation of Japan's sovereignty, but it also threatens our security, which is utterly unacceptable.
Meanwhile, China has said that it was verifying Japan's claims of incursion by a Chinese military aircraft into its airspace. The Philippines has strongly condemned China's actions in the South China Sea, describing them as quote-unquote aggressive, unprofessional and illegal following a series of clashes and incidents in air and at sea over the past week. According to the Philippines' National Maritime Council, Chinese aircraft engaged in reckless maneuvers near a civilian plane patrolling the Scarborough Shoal and Subi Reef. Chinese vessels reportedly harassed a Philippine government ship on a resupply mission to support local fishermen at Sabina Shoal using tactics such as blocking, ramming and deploying water cannons on Sunday. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan reached Beijing on Tuesday for talks with China's top diplomat Wang Yi. The pair is expected to discuss the ongoing tensions in the South China Sea. Now, this is the first trip to China by a U.S. National Security Advisor since 2016. To West Asia now, where Israeli forces continue to battle Hamas fighters in central and southern Gaza. Meanwhile, ceasefire talks were continuing in Cairo with little sign of a concrete breakthrough over key issues separating the two sides. Negotiators aimed at halting the fighting and bringing 109 Israeli and foreign hostages home in an exchange deal for prisoners. In recent days, Israel has issued several evacuation orders across Gaza. Israel has also insisted on checks on people moving from southern and central Gaza into northern areas across the Netzarim corridor, saying that it needs to ensure armed fighters cannot move north. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer warned that fixing Britain's problems and undoing the harm caused by the previous government will take a long time, saying that the situation will get worse before they get better. He acknowledged that the upcoming budget in October will be challenging but necessary because of the economic circumstances he has inherited.
There's a budget coming in October, and it's going to be painful. We have no other choice, given the situation that we're in. Those with the broadest shoulders should bear the heavier burden, and that's why we're cracking down on non-doms. Those who made the mess should have to do their bit to clean it up.
And still to come on DD India Live. The International Monetary Fund's World Economic Outlook report declares India as the world's fastest growing major economy. And India hosts Brazil's foreign minister for talks in New Delhi.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India has been declared the world's fastest growing major economy by the International Monetary Fund's latest World Economic Outlook 2024 report. The country has outperformed the major economies such as China, the United States and Russia. The IMF forecasts India's economic growth to reach an impressive 7% in 2024 and 6.5% in 2025. Currently, India ranks as the fifth largest economy globally in terms of gross domestic product, but is poised to ascend to the third spot in the near future, solidifying its position as a dominant player in the global economic landscape. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar welcomed Brazil's Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira for the 9th India-Brazil Joint Commission meeting in New Delhi on Tuesday. As the opening remarks of the meeting, Minister Jaishankar looks forward to discussing key G20 outcomes from India's G20 presidency last year. Minister Vieira's visit is an opportunity to explore new avenues of cooperation in bilateral, regional and multilateral arenas across diverse sectors. The Ministry of External Affairs said the meeting will provide further impetus to the strategic partnership between India and Brazil. Brazil's foreign minister is on a 4-day official visit to India.
Let me also begin by congratulating Brazil for conducting the G20 meeting successfully and also on the first ministerial consensus document realized during the G20 Development Working Group ministerial meeting. I'd like to reiterate India's full support to the Brazilian G20 presidency and also recall that we got your fullest support during our own presidency. We also have a very important energy cooperation between our two countries and we of course have particularly valued the biofuels cooperation that India and Brazil have established.
Canada, following the lead of the United States, will impose a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicle imports. The country also plans to impose a 25% duty on Chinese steel and aluminium. The duties apply to all EVs shipped from China, which would include those made by Tesla. Canada's duties on Chinese EVs are due to come into effect on 1st October, while those on steel and aluminium will be implemented from the 15th of October. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Ottawa will continue to work with the US and other allies to ensure that customers around the world are not unfairly penalized by non-market practices of countries such as China. The European Union this month imposed tariffs of up to 36.3% on imports of Chinese-made EVs. The World Health Organization has launched a global plan to stop new outbreaks and spreading of the Mpox disease through collective national, regional and global efforts. The suggested plan will cover 6 months starting September 2024 up until February 2025. Daniel Kijo has more.
WHO has announced a plan awaiting feedback from member states that requires $135 million in funding. The plan aims to enhance surveillance, boost prevention efforts, and improve the overall readiness and response to outbreaks. Key aspects of the plan include increasing research, ensuring fair access to medical countermeasures such as vaccines and diagnostic tests, as well as reducing the risk of diseases jumping from animals to humans. It will also increase community engagement in preventing and managing outbreaks. A pivotal element of the strategy is targeted vaccinations campaigns focused on those most vulnerable, such as healthcare workers and individuals in close contact with recent patients. Importantly, the plan stresses global leadership, providing countries most in need with access to essential medicine interventions and guiding timely and research responses to healthcare crises. A recent statistic from the Africa CDC indicate a concerning outbreak, with over 21,466 suspected cases of Mpox and 591 fatalities reported across the 13 African Union member states from the start of 2024 up to August 2023. The African Union has raised alarm over the virus reaching countries previously untouched by Mpox, with new reported cases signaling a significant risk of further spread beyond the African continent. Daniel Kijo in Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Meta founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg has made a stinging revelation about US President Joe Biden that might heavily impact the ongoing presidential campaign in that country. Zuckerberg made these revelations in a letter written to a committee of US lawmakers. In his letter, Zuckerberg said that in 2021, Biden government officials pressured him to censor some COVID-19 content and even jokes and satires related to it. In another revelation, Zuckerberg accused the officials of a premier US investigating agency of warning him to suppress contents related to corruption charges related to the then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family. Zuckerberg said that the FBI had warned him that the information was a part of Russian disinformation campaign, which turned out to be otherwise. Lastly, in his letter, Mark Zuckerberg said that this year he will not make any contribution for creating electoral infrastructure for facilitating the US election. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that Telegram founder and CEO Pavel Durov's arrest in Paris was made under an ongoing judicial investigation and was not a political decision. Macron stressed that France is deeply committed to freedom of expression and communication, to innovation and to the spirit of entrepreneurship. The 39-year-old Russian was detained by French authorities after his private jet landed in Paris on the 24th of August after flying from Azerbaijan. Paris prosecutors said the arrest was made on several charges which involve the alleged spread of criminal activity on Telegram. Meanwhile, Telegram said that it is absurd to claim that a platform or its owner is responsible for the abuse of that platform. And now take a look at what else is making news in India. India's Navy salvaged the wreckage of a trainer aircraft in Chandil Reservoir of Jharkhand state. The search and rescue operation lasted 5 days. A diving and hydrographic survey team from the Eastern Naval Command operated in inclement weather conditions. The trainer aircraft was missing since the 20th of August. Traffic at Jammu and Kashmir's Kotranka Khas Road was disrupted for 48 hours because of a landslide that dumped mud and debris on the road. The landslide continues to progress slowly, posing a significant challenge to restoration work. Several parts of the western state of Gujarat in India witnessed severe waterlogging on Tuesday after incessant rain for several days. 3 people have died in the last 24 hours. Heavy rain is expected to continue in the state till the 29th of August, with the IMD predicting extremely heavy rainfall across the state. The first meeting of a national task force constituted by India's Supreme Court was held on Tuesday under the chairpersonship of the Cabinet Secretary. A national portal has been created by the Health Ministry for seeking suggestions from individuals and different stakeholders across the country. States have also been requested to provide information on the security measures available in medical institutions. The next meeting is to be held on Wednesday to discuss short-term security measures for medical professionals and will be co-chaired by the country's Home Secretary and the Health Secretary. The task force was appointed during the hearing of the rape and murder of a doctor at Kolkata's RG Kaur Medical College and Hospital. The BCCI on Tuesday announced India's 15-member squad to feature in the upcoming Women's T20 World Cup 2024 in the United Arab Emirates in October. Harmanpreet Kaur will lead the side with Smriti Mandhana named as her deputy. Richa Ghosh and Yastika Bhatia are the designated wicket-keepers in the side. India's batting core will be rounded up by opener Shafali Verma, Jemima Rodriguez and Dayalan Hemalata in the top order. All-rounder Deepti Sharma, left-arm spinner Radha Yadav and leg spinner Asha Shobhana will lead the spin department. India have only made one change from their recent Women's Asia Cup campaign in Sri Lanka, with Bhatia replacing Uma Chetri in the 15-member team. The T20 World Cup will begin from the 3rd of October, with India opening its campaign against New Zealand on the 4th, before a marquee clash against Pakistan on the 6th of October. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India Live. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.